All right, here we are. Hopefully, all of our zero viewers can hear us. I am here with Sally Joe, and we are going to talk symbolic archaeology with an artiste. You can see some of her artiste work in the background here in her very own studio in South Dakota. So, since I was here and the question arose, whatever happened to the unicorn? We figured, oh, well, we need to figure out what's going on with unicorns and dragons because everybody talks about the dragon. Nobody talks about the unicorn. Why is this significant? Because basically the thesis here is dragons are the masculine archetype and unicorns are the feminine archetype. And that might be important, we'll say symbolically, to have a different masculine and feminine archetype. Now, just because I'm on the road doesn't mean I don't have my sample. So that is good. Sally has her sample. Say something, Sally.
Something.
Excellent. That was something. That was something. Perfect. So yeah, hopefully the sound's okay. This is Sally's studio, so I haven't vetted it for perfect sound and lights. I did bring my lights and my camera, but we make do with what we got. So this got brought up because Sally's been asking for a while, where are the unicorns, Mike? Where are the unicorns? And Mike's like, I don't know nothing about no unicorns. Do I look like a girl to you? Because it was the girls that all the unicorns. Guys have dragons. What do we need unicorns for? And then I went, oh, oh, I wonder where feminism comes from. Oh, I don't know. I wonder where all these problems come from. I wonder where these, all this obsession on the male side of the register with the female comes from. Oh, well, the female's been pushed down and the male's been raised up. And, honestly, look, guys, I love Jordan Peterson, but I don't think he's helping on this one at all. But he's definitely making it worse. So that's good to know.
So in the past, back when Peterson was a lot smaller, probably 2016 or 17, at one point where you could send questions to him, I attempted to ask him because I was very excited about everything about the dragon and its relationship with chaos and how for medieval England, the dragon was dangerous and had the horde and you had to kill it. And then for China, because the dragon is chaos in a highly ordered society with too much stability, the dragon is luck. And I was like, yeah. And I was really interested in that. And so it just seemed natural to me to be like, okay, what about the unicorn? What is the unicorn? Nothing, just crickets. And then, so that kind of stuff bothers me because I see stuff that's not there, which is constant point of frustration. I see the absence of things. I see the shadows of the things that I don't see the face to. And I've been seeing this absence because when you're talking about predominant mythology, to the extent that Peterson is there's this hollow echoing, where's the unicorn then? Because the unicorn, I would say, in European mythology is as big, if not bigger, than the dragon. So it just bugs the shit out of me. And then, even the other week when you were on Father Eric's stream, and I bring it up, and no slant to Father Eric, but this is how it is anytime I bring it up. The first thing he brought up was, oh, well, I think Lisa Frank killed it. And I'm like, you mean the 90s when little girls were into sparkles and pretty things and still being girls?
Right.
Right.
Might have been a hint.
Right. Might have been better. And then it was something about that actually helped me click it in. I'm like, yeah, it's just totally the feminine thing. And this is the problem because little girls are being told to either go kill the dragon or little boys are being told to tame the dragon, which is ironic to me because I went and saw that in theater as an adult because I was so excited about that movie. But now it's oh no, we should never have been bringing the dragons indoors. And also, taming the unicorn is aspirational and it is a feat. It's an absolute feat. And it's the feat for girls. Right. It's the feat in a different way. because you don't use force. And it is still very necessary. It is very relevant. It is very pertinent. And the things about maintaining a home and like the difference between a house and a home is if it's
Right.
blessed by unicorns, because that's what the unicorn
Mhm.
gives you. It doesn't give you treasure, it gives you a blessing. And it cures you of illness, and it cures you of unrest. Whereas the dragon, you kill it or steal from it, you fight it in this visceral way, which is not in itself bad. It's just so distinctly different. And then also, if women aren't taming unicorns, men are hunting them. And if you're hunting them, you're not blessed by them. And so we did kind of a rabbit hole expedition on the good old internet today, and that was fun. And we found what? Let me see. Saint Heidelgard von, or can you? What was that name? Bridgens,
Bridgens, yeah.
and her book on the Physica, which was what era was that? 1300s.
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 Yeah.
And then Saint Albert the Great on animals, the natural history of unicorns, and then the history of four-footed beasts by Edward Topwell. Now, this is a specific point in history that I've targeted because there is unicorns above and beyond this, right? There's stuff all the way back to Persia. There's stuff in China. There's stuff in South America, Africa. It is just like the flood myth for how much there is. But the reason I'm focusing on basically medieval England, whether you agree or not that the Dark Ages exist, I'm focusing on that time frame because that's like the formation of the Western mind that we live in the echoes of in our current society, that without the constraints of it, we're losing the underfootings of the bridge and we don't know why. So I'm trying to see them clearly so they can be either repaired or referred to in the building of new ones.
Yeah. Yeah, I like that. I like that. Oh, there's Father Eric. Father Eric, it's been so long since we've talked. We might have been to North Dakota yesterday. It's weird that we don't have a definitive source for unicorns in the present time. Well, yeah, we don't have a definitive one for dragons, and I know
I would say this is it.
Right. Saint Hildegard von Bridgens, whatever it is.
Physica, because that's the one that specifies unicorns being trapped by maidens.
Well, unlike dragons, everyone knows what a dragon is. Actually, I think that's wrong. I think everybody thinks they know what a dragon is. But what we have is a bunch of Western Buddhism. And the interesting comment that Sally made to me, I think it was yesterday or maybe the day before, was, oh, I see the yin yang symbol without one side. And that's the problem, is that it's the without one side issue. And Father Eric, again, nobody reads St. Hildegard, sadly, but everyone reads J.K. Rowling. Yeah, but she's wrong. She's wrong about dragons.
Well, no, but she might be wrong about dragons, but she was perfectly fine if you put the unicorn in contrast to the basilisk.
Right, yeah, if you did a bunch of manipulation of the symbolism. And I think, yeah, when you talk about the underpinnings of the West and you think about things a little bit differently. So, I mean, I have a live stream, and actually the monologue is going to be separated out soon. It's a few weeks away, but on the myth of World War II. And so myths are not optional. Which myth are you living? We've been living in the myth of World War II. That's breaking down. Why are myths not optional? Because they are the foundation of your culture, period, full stop. It's really not that hard. I know people are going to like buck this and push. It's really that simple, right? You're not going to find a culture without a set of myths, and you're not going to find a culture that didn't come from a set of older myths, right? Which means, or at least indicates, that myth is what forms culture, or part of what forms culture. It's at least required for that whole enculturation process. And when your myths are broken symbolically, what you end up with is new myths emerging. And maybe they're flat myths like World War II. Again, I'll get the live stream. I'll get that other recorded monologue out at some point soon. Basically, what this means is that you've got to have a myth. the myth has to be right. Otherwise, your culture is not right. We have a bad myth. We're trying to get back the old myths, we'll say, but poorly, partly because of Western Buddhism and partly because guys like Peterson, as much as I love Dr. Peterson, he doesn't know what he's doing symbolically. And maybe he has some help from Jonathan Bijot, and that's wonderful. And I love Jonathan Bijot. He's French Canadian, obviously God's chosen people, but also like things have to get on the same page. And we're not talking about the dichotomy of the unicorn and the dragon. We're not talking about the balance that is between the masculine dragon symbol, which is go out on an adventure, to be perfectly fair to Dr. Peterson, right? Get the gold, and bring it back, as opposed to the unicorn, which is, oh, you have a home? I will come and visit and bless you for it, right? And some of this is wrapped up in, well, do you need this so much if you're a Catholic and you have Mary? I mean, we could go down that rabbit trail, but that's not today. That's for sure. We need Father Eric to join us for that.
So I think a lot of this, we have to talk about the accursed Joseph Campbell. We have to talk about him. So in the Joseph Campbell, The Hero's Journey, there's two misconstruements. The first one being that it's all alone. So the knight doesn't exist without the quest and the lord and the authority. The knight doesn't exist without the armor and the horse. The knight doesn't exist without the people that he's interfacing with to give it relevance. So there's that. That's the first problem. And then the second thing is, because we've slipped into this particular age, there are more things valuable than what the hero, as it is misconstrued, may do.
Right.
So to try to be like, what is, and I was lost in this for a while. I had this idea that there must be a different feminine hero's journey, which, I mean, you can flatten things out and you can take that sliver of the truth and say, oh, I found fact in the story.
Oh, and you have to some extent, because you can't absorb the whole thing.
So when I was on that point, I thought that perhaps the hero's female's journey was to go home and rebuild your house. So you don't go out in the world and slay or take the thing of value and bring it home. No, you go into the home and maybe you root out despair.
Right.
Or you build up the home such as it is into its fullness, into its majesty,
beauty.
And that's what I'm connecting now to the unicorn's blessing. Because in gentleness, in stillness, in grace, in purity, in trust, the presence of things beyond wonder can exist. And I got kind of caught up in this idea that, especially when they're talked about from guys, when guys are hunting the unicorn, they just glimpse it with the side of their eye. And then when they turn to look at it, it's gone. Or if you try and catch it, it destroys itself. That's the masculine experience with the unicorn. Whereas the feminine experience with the unicorn is you've built, I don't know why I keep going back to strawberries, because I don't actually have a strawberry connection, but like you have a beautiful strawberry garden and it comes to visit you for one of your strawberries. I don't think that's actually in literature, but it's that type of story. So my brain's latched onto it. Maybe because there's red associated with the unicorn. We looked at some wonderful tapestries today, which are some of the kind of canonical works. The unicorn it's in a gold pen with a bridle on, and it's under a pomegranate tree, and the pomegranates are bleeding onto it. And if you have certain associations, if you have one unicorn with red being bled onto it, and another unicorn by a fountain with blue water flowing out of it, and you have the red and the blue flowing on the right sides, you connect that to other imagery. Just
if you're a crazy artist.
No, I don't think it takes.
Well, it's more unconscious. It's more unconscious for normal people.
Perhaps unconscious, but it is symbolically accurate, and the sacrifice of the sweet tender thing at the woman's chest is just right there with Christ and Mary, and it is this affiliation, and the pomegranate being associated with blood, but also being associated with Hades is just, oh, it's so
With
good.
Hades, right.
Looking at those old tapestries today, and
The emptying out of Hades.
the
It's all there.
fantastic concept too of every string of those old tapestries being done by women, and not just like one, like a bunch at once, because that's what that takes in that age.
That's participation with the
Whoa.
symbolism right there. Is a tapestry. Father Eric, strawberries need to be protected from birds to bear fruit. Yeah, well, and that's the thing. Like, how do you protect from birds? You can't use a sword to protect things from. It's not protecting from birds is not a masculine thing at all. Like, it's never going to happen. Protecting from a prey bird attacking you might be masculine. Protecting from birds as such, no, that's a question of making a space hospitable or inhospitable. Right? Make it hospitable for certain things, and that makes it inhospitable for other things, or automatically, right? That's how you do that. And that's a female thing. That's not a male thing on average, generally, right? Not all women, not all men, whatever, right?
And that's a specific thing to say. So the dragon and slaying the dragon may be a masculine endeavor, and the trapping the unicorn and the caring for the unicorn and the being blessed by you may be a feminine endeavor. But the key interest here is not everything is a dragon, not everything is a unicorn, and you can't live in a world where no dragons get slayed and no unicorns get nurtured into being tame. Right. That's the problem. If no one's doing one of them, it gets, because it's not to say that a very wise and blessed man perhaps couldn't maintain a garden to tame a unicorn. Okay. And it's not to say that a very vivacious woman couldn't stumble on a chance to slay a dragon. It's that both are valuable. Aren't we in this idea that both are valuable? But we haven't been. We've been in this idea that one is trite and not worth concern, because the only thing valuable to the home is going out and bringing in that dollar.
Right.
And that's grievous. It's destroyed the home, and now we all live in houses.
That's correct. Father Eric, right, a net. Or constant attention. Those are the same thing, Father. Guess what? Constant attention is a net. I've been caught in that not too long ago, in fact, in the past 5 years. Only one is valued. Yeah, well, I wanna sort of harp on this a little bit. Joseph Campbell destroyed the world. All of his work is bad. You can challenge me on this. You will lose. You will lose fast. You will lose hard, and I will be in heaven because I love to win. This guy did more damage. The idea of a hero's journey is individualistically framed, and there's no such thing as an individual. So that's problem number one. Problem number two is there are no heroes anywhere in literature. That did not happen. What happens is that what he's describing are people doing heroic deeds. That does not make you a hero. That does not make you a hero. That does not make you a hero, right?
See, individualism is cowardice on my channel?
Yes, see, individualism is cowardice on Sally Jo's wonderful YouTube channel. What Campbell is doing is he's taking myths, and I'm just going to flat out redefine myth right here. I've done it before. I'm going to do it again. Myth involves divinity in some way. In other words, if I go out and I rescue somebody from a predator, that is not a myth story. That might be an accurate story of events that actually occurred. It might be a, quote, fictional story, although I hate that term. I think that term's worthless, right? It might be a fictional story in that it might be something aspirational for me to do, but it has no divinity in it. It's not about the gods or God or angels or people who were born with a divine gift. So when you're talking about hero, you're talking about somebody born, maybe not born, but almost always born from a divine entity or with a set of divine gifts, or given a divine gift shortly after birth, or maybe as an adult. That's rarer in mythology. And that's actually very important. Campbell doesn't understand any of this. Campbell wants to be an individual. He wants to be a hero. And so he gives this individualistic idea that you can become a hero by going on a journey. No, you can't. That's insane. Don't try to do that. Journeys are important. Not everybody can slay a dragon,
You
right?
can avoid all of your relationships and not grow as a person by going on a journey.
That's true. You can avoid all right. And nowadays, though, Sally, the real advantage to today is you can do that without going outside. You can stay in your house and play a video game and rescue all kinds of imaginary maidens, some of whom might be attached to real people on the other side, and do nothing in the world that helps any other person, but consumes a bunch of electricity, which creates a bunch of people that have to maintain the electricity for you, and people that have to maintain these servers, and people that have to write that code and fix all the bugs, and on and on and on, right? And I talked about this in my AI live stream, right? This is a bunch, like a ton of basically slavery. It's a form of slavery. Now, it's not chattel slavery, but it's a form of slavery, and I think that's one of the problems. So, Father Eric, Mark hates Star Wars confirmed. Star Wars has a divine birth. So no, Star Wars is not a hero's journey, which is ironic because, of course, Campbell consulted on that movie. But what you'll notice, just watch the first episode of Joseph Campbell's interview with, I think it's Bill. Is it Bill Moyer? I think it's Bill Moyer. He had a PBS interview, and basically, I mean, I think it's the first 15 minutes. He doesn't know what the movie's about, and he consulted on it. And I'm like, bro, like, you're the symbolism guy. You've got that wrong. At one point, I don't think it's in that episode, but it's in one of the episodes. He's talking about the scene, the famous scene where the carbonite scene, right? So you've got Leia saying, "I love you," and Han Solo says, "I know," right? And so they're talking about that scene. Now, the first thing to know about that scene is it's ad-libbed. It's very important, right? Because I love George Lucas. He can't write dialogue to save his ever-loving soul. I think that was the problem with the prequels, right? That people let him write his own dialogue. He didn't have fantastic actors with fantastic ad lib. I mean, right? Like some of the people in Star Wars went on to be script fixers. They were good at writing. Carrie Fisher, in particular, right? Harrison Ford is just excellent all around. He ad libbed the "I know." Okay, so this was not due to the script consultant Campbell, and he did not understand the scene. That is abundantly clear in the interview. And so this guy didn't know what he's talking about. And it's clear that he doesn't know what he's talking about. And that's too bad. This idea of a monomyth and all that, that's all garbage. He doesn't even differentiate myth from story. And that's a flattening. And I have a difference between story and narrative. Maybe I'll do a story narrative archetype. It's an older video, but it's a good one, right? But maybe I'll do one on story versus myth and fiction versus nonfiction and things like that. Because as somebody who has some skill in writing, this is all making me quite homicidal. I mean, the way people talk about writing right now and all the bad writing in Hollywood, for example, is just driving me completely insane. Because it's so obviously bad, and everyone's like, "Oh no, this is the way." I'm like, "How did you greenlight these projects for millions of dollars? How did you rewrite? As much as I don't like some of these authors, how did you rewrite these authors' works that were actually not completely terrible and make them worse? Like, what gives you the idea that you're that good a writer? And of course, you're not, right? Wheel of Time is a good example for one of these modern sort of reconstructions. And we're not pulling this out of nowhere. Like, Sally did a lot of research. I did a bunch of research, although I'm lazy, so I had AI help me. Sourced AI. It's not the kind that can hallucinate, thankfully. So what was it? Jimmy Aiken? Is that the guy?
No.
No. What's his name?
I send you things because I don't.
Well, I thought I would remember, and then I got them.
I will look
and
it.
Yeah. There's people out there talking about this, and he's a Catholic.
Yes, it is.
It's Jimmy Aiken, right?
It's okay. Jimmy Aiken, and he's doing a wonderful deep dive on cryptology. But the great thing about this cryptology is it has its historical sources, so it's more like a little history lesson on these rabbit holes.
Right.
And it was delightful. And he has 2 on just the unicorns, and that is actually. We checked them because you don't just take things from a YouTube channel. I took every author that he listed, and then we looked up the original source, and they exist. And that was super great. When you find these old books where it starts all this spin-off, it's very much like Plato and Socrates, but for those sources, because there's so much built on it that frames the Western mindset that it's like subconscious to us.
Right.
And kind of getting a toe in it, because you don't need to know all of it, but getting a toe in it helps you see history in color.
Right. Yeah, and I think that's the problem. So like at one level, I like Dominion, Tom Holland's Dominion. Like I like that idea. On the other hand, he did a terrible job because this is much deeper than what he's proposing. And again, like you can say like the Western culture is built on these things, and these things are we'll say somehow related to. I think it's probably the best way to say it. This Christian underpinning. Yes, but that is underpinned by a mythos, right? By a whole series of myths. And they're all connected, by the way, by a single story, unlike every other culture that I know of. So that's important to realize. So like at some level, his thesis is good and decent, but like it's not anywhere near deep enough.
So this is a little bit of an aside, but I want to put it out there. When something is powerful as such, when you have an emblem, when you have beauty that is powerful as such, it will be gripped onto by evil.
Right.
And
Right.
so if you look at the pinnacle of beauties, you got the unicorn, sure, because that is kind of like what its whole point is. Like literally, it has a pinnacle to be the pinnacle of beauty. Okay. But then also the rainbow. So they are both gripped onto by evil right now in a very specific way. And I would like to just put out the reason that is because they are powerful, and it behooves people who are like evil bad to grip onto such things and be unabashed in their reincorporation because of their power. And that's why we should build tall buildings and magnificent things of glory and majesty. Because if we don't, it's going to be used by someone who's not us. And basically, we're letting Saruman make Mordor all over the place. I don't know how else to talk about constructive design. And yeah.
Well, and that's a good point, Sally. I mean, Jonathan Peugeot makes this point, right? Again, French Canadian, brilliant. Obviously, French Canadians are God's chosen people, because I'm also one of them, kind of. So that's good enough for me. And his brother's book is brilliant, right? So he goes into why Snow White, and he was like, oh, it's been abandoned by Disney, and so we can take it back, right? We can it's been abandoned. But what in my opinion, what's missing from that is, well, what's been abandoned is the unicorn and the rainbow, right? And the proper relationship with the dragon and all of those, because they're not optional, right? These are things in the reality, in the world. They've been taken over by evil.
So if brutalist architecture is not like making Mordor on Earth, I don't know what is.
Yeah,
that's
clearly a problem.
Clearly making Mordor. I mean, this looks like something out of Mordor.
Yeah,
look at
pretty
that
much.
Points. I mean, that's more like, and
it's
that's
like a portal to Mordor. To be fair, it's like, how do you get to Mordor? Right through that building, sir. Right through there.
Well, like, I mean, it's just. It's so, but I mean,
well, put that one up in particular, right? So now I'm just gonna say a word, and you tell me if this word matches. Unicorn. Okay, I'm gonna say another word. We'll try it again. Dragon. That looks like a dragon to me. Sorry.
Dragon energy.
It's got dragon. Totally.
Dragon energy. Well, so when you reject making the magnificent, when you reject incorporating the unicorn, incorporating images of virtue, when you reject remaking the virtues as beautiful women, the most powerful image you can use on men, to be frank, when you reject doing that, you leave a space. And either evil is going to steal from the glory of majesty, or evil is going to make Mordor.
Right.
And it's going to be the kingdom of hell
Right.
on earth. That's what
Yeah, that's well, the video games are they try to be beautiful. They try to reproduce beauty, right? But because we're not reproducing beauty, we'll say in architecture, it's been gotten on by evil. And as much as I love my technology,
well,
there's
video games fold majesty into purgatory.
into purgatory. Yeah, right.
And
that's the problem.
Yeah. And I personally resent them because I think they've stolen the zeal of men from the world.
Right.
So that's my little vendetta.
Yeah. No, men are trying to be heroes, and they're trying to go on the hero's journey. And there's nothing more heroic than one of the large multiplayer online games. Like, for sure, I've played them. I played Dark Ages of Camelot. I was pretty good at Dark Ages of Camelot. I had some high characters there. It was a lot of fun. I put way too many hours into it, but back then I had more hours, so quite honestly, didn't really put a dent in my progress that much. But I mean, definitely stole some zeal for sure, because time, energy, attention is time, energy, attention, baby. If you're putting it on video games, you're taking it away from something else. And because we don't think about the world in terms of what's not optional, what things are out there, right? Like, what things do we have to deal with because they're like gravity, right? Like air or lack of air, right? Like rain is out there, even if you're kind of like hidden away or whatever, right? There's still water. You can still get flooded out, right? They found that out in the Appalachian Mountains in North Carolina and northern Georgia, right? With the hurricane, they're like, oh, they were climate refugees. I'm like, well, if you're dumb enough to be a climate refugee and still stay on the planet, I guess you get what you deserve. You get flooded out. You thought the seas were going to rise, and it just turned out, no, you're going to get a hurricane in the mountains.
So I still remember the last day I played Minecraft, because my husband and myself had moved into our house. We were living on 3 acres in Illinois. We had a decadent, lush, green English garden style backyard. And I had a little downstairs room to do art stuff. I was going to art school. But before we had moved there, I'd lived with 5 and 6 roommates. I'd lived in very small quarters. I'd lived away from my family. I'd lived alone. And we played Minecraft together. Or we played Minecraft together or together with my brother. And like, I liked to build stuff on Minecraft. So just kind of like, you're in the momentum of how you life. And one day I booted up the Xbox, and while it was booting up Minecraft and the Minecraft soundtrack was starting to play and everything, it occurred to me, if I'm working on my garden and I'm working on metalsmithing in Minecraft, I'm not doing it here. And right now I actually can do it here. And then like I turned it on for like 5 or 6 minutes, and I just could never turn it on again. It was just gone. And now when I think back on that, like, man, there was so much TV I watched and books I read to escape my life.
Right.
And man, if I had not had endless amounts of media, could have I fixed my life when I was young? Could I have just found something to not need to avoid the suffering? Because that's all. And I never could resent somebody who drank or smoked or did drugs, because I always knew that's what I was doing with TV and books. Because like, I didn't do that, but I did just rash. Like I would read books till I hurt. Like I would read a book until I was in physical pain, and I would have to move or drink water or pee or something. And I was like, yeah, this is a problem. And like, I kind of knew that. And when I really started shaking out of my bad situations in life, I knew I couldn't quit reading right away. So I just forced myself to stop reading fiction. And so I started reading autobiographies and self-help. And it might not have been the clearest cut path, but it did work. It did work. And it got me to a better place. And like, that was the place that set me up to be able to integrate Peterson.
Right. Right.
Well,
then that's right. And Peterson's breaking people out of a certain type of materialist trap.
Right.
And that's what one of the key things people don't understand. He's breaking you out of a materialist trap. And because not because he's, rattling you against the cage of materialism. He's certainly doing that, right? But he's also giving you an alternative. Because you have to do both. You can't do one. You have to give people a place to go where they break.
It's not that people, because he says this all the time. It's not that people don't know what he's talking about. It's that people don't have the words to talk about it. And the words are like handholds.
Right.
Because if you don't have the words to talk about it, you can't get that. You can't get any conflict or agreement from other people, so you can't sense make.
Right.
So right. It's
well, I see more what Peterson's doing is giving people a way in secular language and scientific language to connect things that they don't have ways to connect now. So because he says, this already. Well, yeah, maybe I know this, but I didn't know thing A and thing C were connected via things Y and X, which is what he gives you.
I mean, it took me a long time to slow down enough to be able to, and Peterson helped me with this because he will do this sometimes. And that was extremely valuable to me, to slow down enough to just verbally describe the pictures I see in my head, because giving them to someone else and seeing how they deal with that is what helps me sense make. And without that, I was blinder than I still remain. So, yeah.
Right. Yeah. And I think that's part of it. Like, we've replaced symbolism and mythology with stories and flat world secular interpretations.
So this goes to why the symbols are relevant. So if you don't have the idea of the unicorn and the idea of being blessed by purity and grace, you don't appreciate the majesty of a good kept home. You don't appreciate the value of someone who just supports you with love and kindness.
Right.
And so it's invisible to you because you just can't see anyone capable of helping you slay dragons.
Right. Well, and the only value in the world right now is the gold and the dragon. So the gold is the materialism, and the dragons is the symbolism. But it's not only is it the masculine end of the symbolic sort of axes, we'll call it, but it's also materialistic in that when you talk about, Peterson talked to Dawkins about this, right? With Alex O'Connor, quote, moderating. And I have a video on that, on navigating patterns. Of course I do, where I broke that down a bit. When you don't see the dragon as an abstraction and an archetype, as Dawkins could not see, he just didn't get it. Right now, a lot of people do. A lot of people hear what Peterson's saying and they go, "Oh yeah, it's the agglomeration of all of these bad things into one symbol because it has elements from all of them that kind of makes sense in a materialistic way." It's sort of a very flat way to think about it, but hey, if that works, that's better than not being able to do it. But if the valuable thing in the world is gold and or slaying dragons and or going on a journey, those are all masculine things that men can do way better than women. And it's no wonder women are trying to do that, right? Because the value that the unicorn brings, which only happens when you're patient and when you're quiet and when you bring beauty and order into a space, but that's not valuable. It's the most valuable thing. What are you going to do? It's nurture.
Nurture.
It's nurture.
Specifically, nurture. And nurture is very specific. And you can do all of the things in a nurtureless way. That's what's so nasty. Like a woman could feed you and help you get dressed and clean your house, and it could be the worst experience of your life. And that is, whoa, that's a thing. But that's part of what they talk about. The unicorn cannot be tamed by force. And I'm trying to explain this to guys. I'm like, your wife can give you a sandwich and it can be awful.
Right.
And guys, like, some guys can get it and some guys can't. And I'm just like,
Peterson talked about this, right? With the diner.
With the diner. Which is a great example.
It's the diner story. Yes. He should do more of those types of stories.
The goofy one that I saw in my head while Mark was talking about this. So there's the whole joke about Kanye and Trump and dragon energy, but it's very accurate.
Yeah.
Also, Melania's definitely got the whole unicorn thing going on,
Right.
especially since she's been first lady
That's right.
and since
That's
she's been
right.
trying and
That's
wearing
right.
the white gloves and just taking care of her child. She don't got nothing to say, and it's like awesome. It's awesome.
Right. Right. Because it's the beauty in the background
Right.
that only comes out when it's needed and is back there
right.
providing
Right.
the safe space, right? The restful
I-
space for
I
the guy.
don't know how you could see Melania's pose in public as weak.
Yeah.
Like, I'm sure people do because people are idiots. But if you can see anything at all, the way she carries herself is like, and I don't care about her past. Right now, since she's been doing that, is the part I'm talking about.
Yeah.
It's grace and wonder.
Yeah.
And it's smooth. And
it's a power. It's a power through majesty. It's power through majesty.
Yes.
Right.
Yes.
And we've lost the majesty, and everyone's going, beauty this and beauty that. And I know so many dear friends of mine who are like, beauty will save the world. And I'm like, no, that's wrong. Beauty can be corrupted very easily, right? Or it can be hidden, right? But most importantly, majesty might save the world, because majesty is below beauty. It involves beauty, but
it's a different thing, though.
Right. Majesty is different altogether. And it's interesting because a lot of people sort of, recognize this.
Well,
right?
Yeah, they do. Well, and it's funny too, because this is present in meme culture, because there will be some things that are not traditionally beautiful, but they'll be like, people will be like, "Oh, it's majestic," like a silly fat guy dancing in a golf course, but he was smooth and he picked up a kitten and jumped over an alligator and he was majestic. But that's right, though, actually, because you don't have to be a glamorous woman,
right,
to be poised and majestic.
Majesty has nothing to do with glamour.
Available to you.
I wanna catch up here, Father Eric. Nurses versus mothers. Yeah, that's a very good contrast. Nurses can only go so far, right? It's still not your mom. Father Eric loves Melania's hats. That's good. Audrey Hepburn energy. And like I said, this comes up in a number of ways. So one of the ways it comes up, to Father Eric's excellent observation here, is the old classic actresses had this. It's not just the screen presence. They had that too, right? It's a majesty. So they're acting or whatever, or they were acting and then they left, which was a lot of the best ones did that. If you go back and you look from the 30s, 40s, and 50s, etc. Even Donna Reed. Donna Reed ran Hollywood, by the way, for real. She had a bunch of men, standing in as presidents. But Lucille Ball too. Lucille Ball ran Hollywood for a long time. So these women have been running things in the background you never even noticed. But there's a majesty to that. But we see this other places too. So the interesting thing to me is, I know Sally Joes is also a fan of Ayn Rand. Ayn Rand sort of recognizes now. Ayn Rand is not a philosopher. She does not have a philosophy. I hate to break it to you. It just doesn't rise to the occasion of what people refer to as philosophy, modern philosophy at that, which that's a whole other discussion with you. If you watch my channel, you already know how I feel about that, because I say it every 2 minutes. So I won't go over it here. She recognized the buildings had to look beautiful. Right now, we can argue about whether or not her idea of beauty was sufficient or correct. And, probably I would be on the side of, better than nothing, but also she was wrong, because she was a utilitarian at the end of the day, among other things. But she recognized the need for that beauty, and she recognized a majesty in the masculine unwillingness to stop working. Just unwilling, no, you stop working, we'll pay you. I will not. I will create. I will build. I will make better. Fire all my employees for me. I don't care. I will do it all by myself. That's in her books, by the way, right? I will single-handedly do this, right? And she's guilty of it, though, right? She doesn't have a female archetype in her, in her little philosophy. That's the problem.
Not a good.
Yeah. She's got females, but they're not great. Right. And you know, I mean, she does a better job than most of the other quote modern philosophers, to be fair. I mean, she beats Nietzsche and Heidegger and all those clowns with that, partly because she's a woman, but she doesn't, she doesn't get there. She doesn't get to the unicorn energy, if you will. She's still dragon energy, unfortunately, and she's
And
majestic dragon at least. But
I
you
mean,
know,
it's good. It's good. It's useful energy,
right.
but it is different. It just is.
Yeah, and it's that difference that we're missing. And so what do I always tell people? You need contrast to see. So if you got dragon and you got no unicorn, you got no contrast, you're missing something. You're not seeing something. I don't know what that is necessarily, although I got my guesses, but you're not seeing something. And I think we have a cultural blindness, right? And that has been usurped by evil forces. Hate to say it, but also you can fight me on this if you want to lose, because you're definitely going to lose. We do this all day with rainbows and unicorns and how they've been usurped. And I can't lose that battle because truth is on my side. So it's been usurped by evil forces.
But also we shouldn't, like, good people should not kowtow away from power because it is power. That's just insanity. And it just makes me angry.
Yeah. I do want to push back on Father Eric a little bit. Beauty pageants will save the world. Beauty will not save the world. They have to be uncorrupted. So the thing that actually killed beauty pageants was the questions and answering the questions, right? Because they're trying to marry the age of gnosis, knowledge as propositions is the highest value, with the beauty. Like they're trying to put those two things together. And then what happens is, well, some of these women are not the smartest in the world, and that gets highlighted.
A revolution in home economics might save the world.
Yes, home ec can save the world.
When that becomes like, okay, so it's very silly, but there's the little Twitch streams of cottagecore, maximalist, minimalist. I don't know, but they're awful. But I also kind of like them because at least it's there's there's a few that I'm thinking of where it's like people ask me what my plans are, and I'm like, well, I'm in a scrapbook and I'm gonna work on a cup, and then I'm gonna make a whole bunch of food and put it in my freezer for me and my kids. And it's just like they're just goofy and but it's this return to actually I have everything I need at home, and actually making my home. I know one. The dopamine core. Very silly. If you want to laugh your butt off for a little while. But why the heck have people been keeping their homes beige to promote the resale value? You're living there right now. Can't you just let it, like, be happy with the thing you have, revere the thing you have, and make it be the coolest thing you have? I have sparkly studio walls. This is sparkly blue. Because where else are you going to put sparkly blue but in your studio?
Right.
And it cost me a whole $3 more than plain blue.
Right.
Worth it.
And what's happening now is women are putting sparkly stuff on their skin, which, again, that works, right? But it's too powerful a signal, and it really screws guys up, actually, and other women.
And making things in your home comforting and a vision of yourself and crafting that space, there's a lot of that energy. And if you're not using it there, it is going to derange. And I think it's a lot like the male energy that's getting lost into video games. There's a lot of female energy that's getting lost into the only thing valued is these godforsaken social media threads. And like,
more
it's hard to explain the compulsion that you have between 13 and 22 when you know your survival and wealth and life does subsist on the society around you for your safety, because you do know that as a woman, but you have no idea what to do with it, and you have no idea who to trust, and people will just lie to you. And so the way other people are giving you attention and credit has such a pull on you. And I don't know how to explain, because there's so much vitriol to that age group of women. And I'm like, I don't know how to explain to you, like when you're a baby and you don't know anything. And like I used to even hate my younger self. And then
Right.
I'm very blessed to have moved home and met some people from my family that were my age. And I was like, oh, you were stupid. Because everybody's stupid at 14 and 15 and 13. And like everybody's stupid at that age. So like I
Right.
can't hate myself
Right.
as much. And I would
Right.
say if you hate your younger self, maybe meet some young people. It's very useful.
Yeah, and that's the individualism where you're kind of expected, oh, well, the baby will figure out its own gender later. But no, that's not how that works. Like individuals don't exist, and if you assume you were an individual, you should have been an individual, or somebody else is an individual, should have been an individual, you're automatically implying that they should know things well in advance of their capabilities
Oh,
of
I
actually
I
knowing.
lost my point and then I found it again.
Okay.
Um women will seek the thing they think society values the most from them.
Right.
So
Right.
if they think the thing valued the most from them is OnlyFans,
Yeah.
they're gonna do that.
Yeah.
And if they
Yeah.
think the only
Yeah.
thing valued from them is getting a degree and making big buck and
Big
being
bucks.
girl
It's all
boss,
money.
because that's what a good person does, the compulsion to do that is 1,000 miles an hour.
Right. Not for men,
And
but for women.
so I would like to promote like the unicorn exists. You can chase unicorns.
Yeah.
Like, and that
Yeah.
sounds
Yeah.
silly and that sounds screwy, but you need that mental image
Yeah.
of no, I'm learning how to sew and it's going to bless my children. And no, I'm going to care for myself and be physically healthy because my grace is good for people. And I don't
Right.
have to do the body positivity, leave hair on my legs because that's good for people. No, actually, I'm going to actually care about my appearance and not be gross
Right.
because that's good for people.
Right.
And
Right.
it's if you don't have the ideal of the unicorn and you think the only thing that's good for people is a willingness to get your hands dirty and not understanding no keeping the unicorn's face blessed is okay, that's a big loss. And I really wish I wish I could gift guys the understanding of just how much social ire affects you as a teenage girl,
Mm.
because like you feel it, like when other girls hate you, you feel it. It's like it's physical pain, and
Yeah.
like that's why like teenage girls are weepy because they're always feeling other people's feelings about them, and they don't know how to deal with it, and they're
Yeah.
not going to. That
Yeah.
that is that
Yeah.
experience. You have to go through that
Yeah.
suffering.
Yeah. And I wanna highlight, so Father Eric, whoops. Chesterton was saying is over 100 years ago. Yeah, some of it, right? And yeah, guys couldn't handle it. But I want to point out a few things. Like when everyone's equal, there's one value for everybody. That isn't the world we live in. Is never going to be the world we live in. Is never the world we have had. Right? It's always been lots of things are valuable for different reasons, and they come together hopefully in a wholeness, not a unity. Unity is not necessarily good. Unities can be very bad, right? There's lots of famous unities. See the myth of World War II, or maybe just think about World War II or World War One for that matter. Lots of bad unities out there, guys. Don't be thinking unity is an answer to anything. Wholeness is. Wholeness emanates from above, and it's very specific, right? Wholenesses that aren't good don't last. When you make things equal, when you have equal value, when you're stuck in materialism, what's valuable? Gold, money, gold, right? Oh, well, one value for everybody. Oh, well, what do we do? Oh, I don't know. We send everybody to college. No, that was never a thing. That was never how college was
Yeah.
intended to work. I've got a
Right.
video
And
coming out about that, by the way, on academia and the role.
and if Cindy can't chop as much wood as Sam, what good is Cindy's beautiful jelly toast?
Right.
Because jelly
Right.
toast doesn't compare to chopped wood. That's the dumbest shit you ever
Right.
heard.
Right.
Like, but that's what we're being faced with.
Right.
Like Cindy's like, well, why the hell didn't you bring in 5 truckloads of wood, Cindy? And like, meanwhile, Cindy's like 121 pounds and could have made some damn good jelly toast. But no, it was like that's
Right.
worthless. So now everybody eats a Pop-Tart
Well, and
because that's working out.
yeah. That's what happens.
That's what
Everyone eats a Pop-Tart. Yeah, and you got to understand too. I mean, this isn't good for men in two ways. Like, one is because the value of the feminine is hidden. When they get it, they don't know what it is, and they don't know that it's valuable, and they don't know what to do with it. But the other one is the other side of that coin, which is very much, take a breath. They're looking for the unicorn now, because the women aren't bringing the unicorn, right? Because they're busy trying to chop wood, right? And so no one's attracting the unicorn. So they're looking for the unicorn. And in a flat world, and especially in a materialist world, but even in just an individualist world, what happens is they think the unicorn should be the woman. The woman should embody the unicorn that they're looking for. And unicorns, I mean, unicorns are perfect in their way. They are perfect. That is correct. And they are not only beautiful, but they've got that protective horn, and they're pretty fierce in their own way, right? They're not dragon fierce. It's not dragon energy, guys, but you know, they do like come with rainbows or bring rainbows or, you know, whatever, right? Or, you know, have the ability to manifest rainbows, right? Which is the connection of heaven and earth. See Mature Peugeot's excellent book, Land of Creation. When you don't have that, the two things happen at once. Not one thing. Like, this isn't the scientific world. There's no scientific world. That's an illusion, right? It can be useful in illusion, but it's an illusion. Two things happen at once. They can't value that when it comes to them, but they're looking for their own image of it, which is not it, because they haven't seen it, right? And so they're hunting for unicorns. What would you like to say about guys hunting for unicorns, Sally, if you can contain yourself?
I'm good. Yeah, just women aren't unicorns. They can't be. That's just how it is. But the blessing of that in a real way, like the lens through which that attaches to Earth, they are. But it can't be done by force. Like, force is what kills it. And I think the old stories about like force is what discourages the unicorn, and like killing it being a curse, and like all of that would be very useful, because what you would need to do to hunt a unicorn is how you could find a girl who could get you some of that power.
Right, right. And that quest for the unicorn girl is a quest for the perfect woman who has all the properties and qualities that men think they want. But what I've seen, and I know what Sally's seen, but although she sees slightly different things, is men are looking for the quote perfect woman, and they want this, and they've got their checklist. I mean, men are good at checklists, you know, in that way. We're not good at grocery checklists, but we're good at other kinds of checklists. What do we need to bring to kill the dragon? I've got a checklist for that. You know, that's not a problem, right? Strategy, we got dragon killing strategies. We got all that, right? You can't do that with women. First of all, women in the wild are not going to be perfect. They're going to be wild. Notice the use of the word in both places. It's almost like it's a thing, right? And I only say that because I see this every day now on Twitter. People don't notice that they're using the same word in two phrases, and therefore they're connected by that word. So yeah, I mean, women in the wild, which is until somebody builds a home for them. So if they're not living at home, or maybe if they're living in a broken home, what a weird wording, broken home. Maybe if they're living in a broken home, they're in the wild. Sorry, they're in the wild. They're not living at home or living in a broken home. They're living in the wild. Period. End of statement. Isn't that hard? I know nobody likes simple answers, but also simple answers, guys. You got to build that home. When you build that home, then they make it they make it into something more, right? They have to be housed somewhere in order to build the beauty inside the home to manifest the unicorn that you're looking for.
And until they have a place to maintain and to basically tame the unicorn, they have to be protecting themselves from dragons, and they cannot be that type of feminine. And right. I see a lot of guys mad at girls right. for going out and like needing a paycheck and needing to be successful, and like, well, what can I even give her? I'm like, well, like, what's she supposed to do in the meantime, bro?
Right.
Like,
right.
if your dad said you're out, then you're gonna have to defend yourself from dragons. And if you don't succeed, you die, by the way. Yep. So, yeah, there's gonna be some butch ladies out there that I tell you what, if they knew, which they probably don't know, this is the thing.
Right.
And this is a state where they probably don't know that it's even possible for them
Yep.
not to have to be on guard from dragons. But
Yep.
if you can provide that kind of thing to them, they probably could be blessed by unicorns. And this is kind of a personal story to me. So a bazillion years ago, when my grandparents were alive, my grandparents were married for over 50 years, and they got married in their early 20s. My grandmother, I think between her first kid and her second kid, or maybe even before she had kids, she was struggling with mental illness. And because it was back then, my grandma would be like in her hundreds right now. She was a lot older. But anyway, because it was back then, my grandpa and her went to the doctor. It was just a regular doctor. It was not like a psychiatrist. They didn't have those in South Dakota at that time. And he listens to everything my grandma says, listens to everything my grandpa says, sends my grandma out of the room, looks at my grandpa and says, "You just get her a home. You get your guys' own land and a home that's something similar to where she grew up that you're in complete control of, and she'll be fine." And it worked.
And it worked.
And she had 7 kids and a successful school teaching career.
Right.
And like, this was not like luxury that my grandpa got. My grandpa got a shepherd family had went out of business, so an old sheep herder's house. And then they upgraded to a dairy farm in western South Dakota. But it was enough because it wasn't about the decadence. It wasn't about a 4-car garage. It was about stability.
Right.
And stability way more important than like monetary value per se.
Right.
So like I would say even having a friend in or having a apartment in a neighborhood where you had long-term friends is more stable than having a $300,000 house and a mortgage that's dependent on a high-paying, high-stress career.
Right.
So like this isn't about accumulating tons of wealth. This is a different thing.
Right. You want to facilitate a ton of stability.
Stability.
Right.
Yeah,
not wealth. I want to catch up here. Father Eric had, whoops. You cannot marry your projection of your future woman, wife, mother. Right. You got to understand relationships as such are opportunities for both parties to grow. And therefore you can't look for somebody perfect because the perfection is the goal of the relationship. Perfection of both of you, by the way, because you suck too. So that's always good to know. Father, Carrie Grass noticing her ex-boyfriends all married kindergarten teachers. Yeah. Well, it's interesting too. So one of the stories I've told before, and I swear I tell these stories and you can tell when people don't get it, right? Because most of the stories I tell are nuclear weapons. So if you didn't like experience a nuclear weapon in your head, you missed something important, right? So I'll go over it again. When I was on the dating scene, quite a while ago now, a very long time ago, way pre-fake news virus scam, what you would see on online dating quite often were women posting things like, "I got my own house, I got my own career, I got my own car, right? I don't need none of that from you." And I was like, well what are you bringing to the table? What are you telling me?
So
right?
I've been frustrated with this story in the past and not on live stream with you. What women are posting is often what they're hoping to find in men. Because we've been told everyone's the same.
Right.
And so women think to themselves, well, I want him to have a confident job. Right. Well, I want him to have a stable living situation.
But that's also the value.
Yeah,
right? They're posting to the value, not realizing what the message is.
Well, and it's brutal when you say that because like that was me for a long time.
Right.
And it was like, well, I was trying to be a confident human being.
Right.
And
that was the only way to be a confident human being.
Yeah, I had no unicorns a lot of my life. I didn't know that was an okay pursuit.
Right.
And
no
it's
unicorns.
brutal. It's so brutal. Like, yeah.
Right. And that is the problem with the lack of the unicorn archetype. With the lack of we got all dragons, no unicorns. We're barely talking about the dragons. Thank you, Dr. Peterson. At least you've opened that door, right? But also, we need to keep going with that.
Right.
And I know, my friend Pastor Paul Vanderklay, he was on the track for a while of, Peterson brings them so far and we need to bring them further. Well, one of the things we need to bring them further on is this particular aspect of the symbolism, which is the feminine aspect of the symbolism. Peterson's got some of the masculine symbolism kind of okay, at least better than nothing, man. And like,
well,
he's great. That's a super huge upgrade. There's no doubt, but it's not balanced out.
It's two cheats with Peterson and the feminine. Or maybe not Peterson himself, but the Western world. So Peterson sort of clears this up. He does clear up the devouring mother, which I'm actually really grateful to him for that, because you see, if you don't have the evil side of a thing, you're invalidating it and you're not respecting it properly. And I like the bringing back the devouring mother and the talking about sirens and the talking about Medusa, because you need that respect. Because if you're not dangerous, if you're feeble, if you're weak, if you're nothing, there's no respect for you. And you don't have to be masculine for that respect. That respect should be, but also you need the aspirational. So the devouring mother is not enough, because you can't have the devouring mother and then like regular, basic, simple motherhood. That's not balanced. That's not, because it's, what is it never? It is never a dichotomy. It's not a false disco toad. It is a third thing. So you have the devouring mother as the thing to run away from. You have what you actually can be. But you have unicorns, or you have virgin birth. You have that majesty beyond that you can never attain in the stars. And with those things, you have 3 points, and that gives you navigation.
Exactly. Then you can orient.
Then you can navigate.
You can orient in the world and navigate towards those things. It's one thing that Peterson doesn't talk about is orientation and navigation. He hints at it, right? In the maps of meaning, he points in that direction.
He falls into it accidentally because it's there in the old myths.
Because it's there in the old myths. Right. Right. Well, and it's inevitable even in materialism. I mean, the advantage to Peterson is that he is a good enough materialist to find the weaknesses of materialism.
The nature itself as such, natural law as it were, will give you the glory of God.
Yeah.
On accident, kind of by falling into a brick wall.
Right.
But if you can respect it, you will still be ahead of the atheists.
Yep. Yep. Exactly. And the nihilists.
And the nihilists. That's better than the atheists.
Yeah.
But anyway.
Yeah, you can beat the nihilism by actually following actual nature. There's better ways to follow nature than books. Books should probably just be burned, pretty much almost all of them, except my upcoming book, and maybe one or two others.
That would be inconvenient.
If that's a sacrifice I have to make to save it from the age of gnosis.
If you want to buy it to burn it, very okay.
Oh, that's okay.
That. If you want to buy it to burn it, that's fine.
We're not materialism. We just want the right amount of materialism, which is more than the zero that we have now. We'll say, Father Eric's got a comment here. Let's check this out. Sally Jo the Baptist reinvents natural theology. Yes,
I'm a terrible Baptist.
She's a terrible Baptist. She said
I know that. I'm okay with being the terrible Baptist.
She knows that she's a terrible Baptist. Like, it's fine. It's fine. Well, and the fact that we'll say an honest and careful engagement with nature, with the physics, if you want to go Aristotelian on it, will lead you right back out of materialism and into the inevitable emanation of the creation, the ineffable creation above you that creates the wholeness in which you were born, by the way. That's a thing too. But you have to take it seriously, and you have to be smart, and most people can't do either. So
part of what I think makes my portion of my subject of my denomination sufferable is because the ones that I am currently dealing with and encountering within my family and my community that is a real community all engage with nature as a point of pride. And so there's a certain amount of the evangelical idiocy that just has never occurred to them. Like the idea that Christ wouldn't flip a table and whip people. It just never occurred that that wasn't what happened. There was no hippie Jesus available because when you live in nature and you literally raise sheep, you just have a different understanding of the scriptures.
Yeah.
You just do.
Well, and you don't really understand it. And I've said this before, like, man, you gotta drive through the Midwest and maybe stay there for a while. For example, did you know South Dakota has no borders? Because you can't get out of this place. It's impossible.
It is the
We
Twilight Zone.
tried. And even though it said North Dakota, it was the same. It was exactly the same. It was so the same. But like, there's nothing but nature out here. And the engagement with pure nature, where you're not resentful, you're not like, oh, I gotta go out and deal with the cattle. It's like, no, I get to go out and deal with the cattle, right? And then all that entails, because it turns out cattle are difficult. And
how many bison did we see?
oh my god,
Are
there things other than bison in the world?
We probably saw 1,000 bison
Easily.
And certainly thousands of cattle of various breeds,
Tens
which
of
I
thousands.
was trying to teach Mark the breeds, but I don't think it's stuck.
No. We're driving down the highway. That's a this breed and that's a that breed. I'm like, there's 50 cattle at least that I can see, and some of them seem to be different colors. I don't know. And oh no, that's a bison. I'm like, they're all the same.
Explaining that Black Baldy's recessive, but you weren't listening.
I just couldn't. We're driving 80 miles an hour down this desolate road, right? But the engagement, the joyful engagement with the nature that is available, that also, by the way, provides your direct sustenance that's you're eating that. Not all of it.
And past what provides your sustenance, because we saw hawks and ravens and antelope and deer and rabbits. And we didn't see a badger, which is a bit of a bummer.
No badgers, no rattlesnakes, even though we were in rattlesnake country.
You want to go to the Butte?
No, I don't want to.
We could go to the Butte.
No.
We'd see some if we went to the rattlesnake Butte. We have one for that.
No, that would scare Sarah off.
We don't. Well.
Yeah. See,
you take a barrel and you put it in the back of a pickup, and then you watch them from there.
No thanks. No, I'm not gonna. We saw Devil's Tower, which I've always wanted to see. It was lovely. It was like, oh, did you see snakes? It's like, no, didn't see any rattlesnakes. Thank goodness. They're like, oh, they're usually up there hanging out. It's like, but there's so much nature, and the nature's here, competing. Like, if you think you're not seeing like nature attacking nature, because that happens, animal on animal action, right? And then also lovely things like baby bison. You see baby bison. Baby bison are the cutest things in the whole world.
Toasted marshmallows.
They're the wrong color.
They're toasted
but they're the wrong color. It's great.
They're
totally wrong. Like, you're not gonna grow up and look like that big thing. That's the wrong color. Like, come on.
They're a different texture too.
Yeah.
They're like a cotton ball texture. They're not like the big scraggly hair texture. They're like a fluffy.
But that engagement with nature begs the unicorn. It begs the unicorn.
It does.
Like,
I
need that.
I could draw a bison unicorn.
A bison.
A white bison, because we do have the white bison, which is supposed to bless you.
I haven't seen the white bison.
So when a white bison is born, that's like a blessed age.
Oh, okay.
And it's like it's a Sioux thing.
It's a whole thing in the Sioux.
Yeah, but like the white bison is holy.
Yeah. I know that. Yeah.
I don't know what the artist name is, but there's a couple of magnificent drawings of women carrying a white bison. Like the whole entire, like it's totally impractical. Like it can't be done. But it's the woman carrying the white bison on her shoulders.
Yeah.
And that is, this is taming the unicorn. Like that is just a straight shot. The white bison is basically that.
Right.
Like, yeah. But now I want to do a white bison unicorn. That would be fantastic.
What have I done?
White bison unicorn.
What have I done? No.
It's so good.
Yeah, you had nothing better to do, so you just had one more project.
White bison. We finished Og is done.
Og is done. Everybody will get to see the glory of Og. Actually, I got to film the glory of Og. Maybe I'll do that tomorrow. Yeah, I mean, when you're out in nature, you sort of get a better feeling, and the Native Americans always had this, right? With all their, right, they name each other based on what animals are around at the time, right? So like, that's a big deal. Like, they're very connected to nature. but you can't get around the unicorn and the dragon. You can't get around. It might be called something different. It might be the white bison, whatever. It doesn't really matter at some level.
Yeah.
That archetype is
Well,
there.
because you have white bison, like maybe somebody who was actually Lakota would argue with me, but you also have Thunderbird
Yeah, the Thunderbird.
and Wendigo, and you have
Yeah, the Wendigo.
the monsters. Like you have
Yeah,
like you have other types of monsters too. So like it's both and everything. It's just
yeah, and I think that's really the problem. Like we need to recapture these baseline myths, mythological characters that you know, in our research, right? These tropes for unicorns and dragons are way older. But also when you look at them, all the Christian symbolism association, like you can just see it. Like, wait a minute, this is before Christ, and yet.
Well, and if you want to speak very Peterson or very psychologically, that makes sense because the things that are very, very true have almost framework in our mind. And that, I mean, this is what I say about some types of bad faith. One of the reasons a bad type of faith will sit in you is because humans do have just a space in their brain for the divine. And if you don't fill it, someone will fill it. That's the thing you say. If you don't have a religion, one will be provided to you without your consent.
Knowledge or consent.
But that's the same thing about these visual archetypes. And this is the really, really bad thing about only seeing the image as marketing. Because the image has been primarily taken over as marketing, with a certain sects of the church not being willing to use images. And I have taken it upon myself to reject that because I want the image of a woman to be associated with a child from the beginning. And so even though it is counter to the denomination that I live in, I have that image up in my home because I don't want the only female image that's static to be a pinup girl selling Coca-Cola. I want, I think, putting up the image of a woman and child together very beautifully and having that exposed constantly is very healthy for men.
Right.
Because not everything is about us, ladies. It has to be considered what's healthy for men. And with, yeah. It's just a thing.
Yeah. And when you don't have that contrast to the unicorn, the men are not seeing when they're being cared for. I mean, they don't know what care is.
No, they don't know what
and they don't know that it's valuable.
And it's not chopped wood. So what the hell is it?
Right. It's not gold. No dragons are being killed. What's going on? What is she bringing to the table? Right.
But that's also why you should be willing to use beauty and emblems of power. You should be willing to build the tallest building. And it is incumbent upon good people to not leave that available for others to corrupt the youth.
Right. Well, that RJ's got a great point here. Right? Seeing the Madonna is good for everybody, and I'm Jewish saying that. Yeah. I mean, you have to look, there's a space around us. I don't know why I have to say this, but I do. Somehow, I don't know how I'm living in this world. There's a space around us, and it gets filled with things, whether you want those things there or not.
Can you tip that up, and I'll use my faith card for a
second? I can try.
So in medieval paintings, there was persistently faith, and she was depicted in those paintings as having a candle lit and with her faithful little white dog.
Right. So
this is part of the imagery I was trying to bring back and put into a more modern, approachable context in my virtue cards. So with this one, the thing I thought about was, what's really bad when it's unfaithful? Oh, a call center. And so I used this older image of a lady at a call center, and she's got the light on and the dog is there. And that having that image that out there somewhere, someone is faithful is good, because then when you are dealing with relationships, be they romantic or otherwise, you kind of have this idea, no, that's real enough that someone painted it. So there must be some of it out there, and you will be less likely to accept unfaithfulness if you know that at least a vestige of that ideal was held by another's mind.
Right.
And that's
Right.
what good images do for society. That's what
Yeah,
they can
exactly.
do.
Exactly.
Is they can give you like, no, this, whether it's completely real or not, it was real enough that somebody thought it was important enough. And so I know there's at least some measure of real faithfulness out there.
Right.
And then you can pursue it.
Right. And if you want one of these, you can go to themarkofwisdom.org/shop and buy them as tapestries, because there you go. There's your divine feminine.
And we
right?
have unfaithfulness depicted in the bottom with this
Right.
little character that's running out the door and the candle is out and the phone is off the hook.
Right.
And all the lines are lit up, which
Yep.
is more what's happening right now in society.
Right.
So,
Nobody, the lights are on and nobody's
if you've
home.
ever been abandoned by a call center, you can buy this as a memorial to good service.
Right. And that contrast between the good and the bad is the same, attempt to put contrast back in the world as such, which is the same thing we're talking about when we say, well, we're missing the unicorn contrast to the dragon, right? These things are important. Like there's sections of the world you can't see, and you still have to go after them, right? That's why people are pursuing unicorn women instead of actual women in the actual world that they could attain and become perfect within and beside. And as you want the journey of a lifetime is having a relationship where you both grow together. There's your journey, right? That would be, we'll say, the correct reinterpretation of the reprehensible Joseph Campbell hero's journey, right? There's no hero's journey. There's a journey of theosis that happens through the union of man and woman, maybe, right? I know the Orthodox will all love that. That's how they talk about it.
We gotta give the bros something.
We gotta give the bros something. They're not wrong about that, right? That's correct. The Catholics don't emphasize it enough.
We say Theotokos now.
You have to say Theotokos. Right?
Theotokos. There we go.
We got the Ortho Bros.
We presented the space for the Ortho Unicorn.
We made the Ortho Unicorn space. The Ortho Unicorn will come and bless us.
It's a small one. It comes out of the beard. That's the Ortho Unicorn, the small version.
I think that's right. That's right.
Yep.
That sounds symbolically dead on. So yeah, I mean, because we don't understand the importance of myth, because we're not understanding the importance of symbolism, and we're not on the project, as much as I love Jonathan Peugeot and he can do no wrong in my eyes, we're not on the right project yet, right? The right project is figuring out what symbols we need and then revivifying those symbols, right? And representing them correctly in society.
Giant unicorn statues.
Maybe. I mean, I don't think you need necessarily unicorn statues, but we certainly need that symbolism.
Well, I mean, do we need Sasquatches that are up everywhere?
Well, that's the thing, right?
Well,
it's so funny.
Okay, so think about it, because you have all the Pinterest wings.
Right.
What if instead of Pinterest rings and instead of the Sinclair dinosaur, you had unicorns?
Okay, well,
that'd be awesome. Maybe
unicorn
and dragons.
Well,
I don't know.
Well, we're not taking away the Sinclair dinosaur. I love the Sinclair dinosaur. He's so cool.
Too,
He's so cool. He's a little green dinosaur. He's so cool. And some of the gas stations, the Sinclair gas stations, have paper mache dinosaurs out front. Some of them are pretty big.
They're cement.
Pretty cool. Oh, they're cement? Oh, I thought they were
paper
cement.
Mache. You can climb on them.
What?
Little kids always climb on them out here.
I have been abused by not being informed of this.
Yeah.
That I can climb on the dinosaurs.
Much like the jackalope at Wall Drug. You can climb on it.
Wow.
There's
that's
cement.
True. You can climb on the jackalope at Wall Drug. I didn't realize that. On the way back, on the way out of here, I'm going to stop at one of the Sinclairs with a dinosaur. They don't all have dinosaurs, and I'm going to get on that dinosaur and get pictures with it.
I understand you haven't experienced the 30-mile-an-hour winds, but you have seen the grain bins that did.
Oh yeah.
So what part of paper mache would exist for 3 seconds?
No, I just figured they were cheaping out.
No, they're
They're
not
serious.
even fiberglass.
They take their dinosaurs seriously out here. That's true. I didn't think about it. I know what tornadoes can do. I lived in Kansas for a little while, but yeah, the symbolism is going to happen, right? And it's kind of the symbolic world, guys. I love them all. I can't wait for the next symbolic world thingy. I hope we do another one, and I hope I'm able to go.
Out front is a giant unicorn and dragon.
There we go.
Wrestling for a
fighting
TV
each
remote.
other. Yeah, wrestling for a TV remote. That would be great. Right. But like when they say symbolism happens, symbolism is inevitable. Right. The way they're talking about it is, oh, these little, synchronicities are going to happen. It's very Jungian in some sense. But actually, no. Symbolism is there, whether it's Bigfoot or cryptids or aliens.
That's like saying mold in my fridge happens.
Right. Or your dinosaurs, right? Your little dinosaurs became big. Why? Because other symbolism went away.
No, but like if you don't maintain your stuff, you get little fridge monsters. Like it didn't. You weren't part of that. Like you were part of that process.
Right.
And like your symbols, you're part of the process of your symbols becoming a thing. It's not escapable.
Right. You're manifesting them. RJ, they don't win. They fight over the remote.
Yeah. Nobody wins.
Nobody wins. That's the point.
You're
you
just
need them
fighting
both.
for what channel you're on.
You can't reduce the binary or the duality down to one. And you would have to if it were only a duality. But it's not. There's a union that's higher than the unicorn and the dragon that causes the perfection that leads you up to the ineffable goodness that created creation. This isn't that hard. I don't understand. Being is good. Just start from there and do your logic thing. You'll still get there. You'll be in a Catholic church in no time. I guarantee you.
Well, it is, RJ, because the remote is the attention.
Yeah, the remote.
So it's just an excellent way to explain.
The remote is the true winner. Yeah.
Yes.
Well, it is because the remote is the control. Literally.
I respect young enough, Ixon, to think that not everyone should read him, and for a lot of people, it's just infinite fracturing that's not really going to be useful to you.
Right.
Some of us are not blessed enough to ignore it.
Right. Well, then that is the fundamental problem. Like the idea of mythology, the idea of symbolism, these things are not optional. So psychology is going to come along and grab onto them. Like it has to. Like you can't run the world on materialism. It doesn't work, right? And that's part of it. RJ, I'm just here to help you guys say the quiet part out loud for the folks with autism. There we go. Yeah. But no, I mean, this is all helpful. We like engagement here. So that's all good. We could try to share the link if you were up for it, Sally, or if that's too scary to let other people into this whole thing. No, I mean,
I'm fine with having.
Yeah. Why don't we just invite? If no one wants to come, that's fine. We could talk forever because you've been talking about this for days already.
I've been trying to talk about it for like 4 years.
Really
weeks. Were ignoring
me. Yes, I've been doing nothing but ignoring Sally.
Well, I mean, when I remembered it, which is like skips. Okay, I would forget it.
No, I definitely was ignoring you the whole time.
About unicorns,
right?
You were like, "Oh, unicorns are for girls," and I was like, "That's the point, Mark. They're for girls."
Feel free to jump in, but yeah, we should post a couple of other links if we could manage to find them. Unfortunately, we're in this temporary setup. I don't have my normal stuff. We've got a microphone right in the way. It's hard to type, but I think it's good sound quality. We'll get there. I'm sure the sound quality is fine. There's a little bit of echo outside, but I don't think it's making it to the mic. Are a thing. No, this works pretty well, actually. I'm surprised at how quick and.
I wish we could have had a table for the. You know what would work good? One of those songbook holders.
Yeah.
For a laptop, that would be awesome.
Yeah. I wish I had brought the microphone thingy, and then we could have had it come.
Well, that's not the part. The being on one side for me
nice.
is awkward. I like the Joe Rogan setup with it off to the side.
Off to the side. Well, I could have had that.
Well, I don't have it set up well.
No, but I had a thing. I could have brought it.
Oh well.
Yeah, although it wouldn't work on this table because you get.
No, that's why I got my weird old lamp.
Yeah.
And this table needs fixed. Yes.
The lamp might have. Yeah, we could have done something with that. But I was being really lazy, so I set this up at the last minute because I knew it was in pretty good shape. Ixnon, I haven't read Jung, and I can also recommend not reading him. Excellent. Yeah, I mean, don't read Jung. He went wrong somewhere, and if you don't know where, you shouldn't read these guys. If you can't figure out where they went wrong, you shouldn't read them. It's that simple. Like this is not. It's dangerous knowledge, right? If you shouldn't be engaging with Heidegger. Like Heidegger's philosophy turned him into a Nazi. Maybe don't read him. Like, I don't understand why this is so hard for people to understand. Like, and if you understood him well enough to know where he went wrong, do you need to read him at all? Because maybe you got all the good stuff, by accident or whatever. It's not that hard, right? And people make this hard because of the age of gnosis, and they want that engagement with more knowledge. And it's like, no, more doing, because knowledge is in participation. There's no knowledge outside of participation. Reading a book's not participation. Talking to people is not participation. I hate to break it to you. Riding a horse, participation. Rounding up cattle, participation. Sowing the field, participation. Right? Watering the crops, participation.
You want to participate with the heater?
I can participate with the heater. It is getting.
If I'm cold, you're frozen, so you should turn it back on.
I'm good.
There we go. Excellent.
There we go. We got the heater going.
You can't materialism the unicorn away, RJ. You can't do it. We
Yeah,
won't let you.
I mean, I think trying to
That's
unicorn
not the
greater
point.
than rhino. Yeah, I mean, it's really
Not the
not
point.
in the symbolism at the end of the day, right? That's what we kind of discovered, is that the rhino and the unicorn are the same at some level. And
But
this
it
is the
just
problem with the
It
symbolism.
doesn't matter. Like it's really irrelevant. But no.
Yeah, I mean, bringing these symbols down is not the right answer. The right answer is to understand the proper relationship that things have to the symbol. And that's why the symbols are important, right? Because if you don't have the proper relationship, then everything's screwed up.
RJ, when you consider the Brits having the unicorn as part of their crest of arms, then also consider how prominent Queen Victoria was for like the 300 years she was alive, because that's what it felt like. But they have a good relationship with the feminine.
Right.
And the whole thing that the hand that rocks the cradle rules the world.
Yep.
And then countries that have the biggest empire that's ever been known to man having the unicorn in a respected position, contrasted elegantly with the lion, who is, if anything, but a unicorn. Like, he's not. Like, it's a separate thing. So the lion is in place of the dragon in that case, which is probably better because there's less Satan. It's more just masculine energy, less Satan wickedness, and the lion and the unicorn together.
Right.
In the, if I see them correctly in my head, they're both standing up on their back feet, pointed towards a higher.
Right. Pointed up.
Oh, that's majestic.
That's the
and that's
majesty.
Power, and that's glory.
Exactly.
In this good way.
Right.
And good people should embrace glory in that good way. And if we don't, all the jokers have to.
Right.
And that's been ugly.
Because it's not optional. Again, it's not optional. It's like gravity. You're not getting around it.
It's very much like gravity. Symbolism,
or oxygen or anything.
Symbolism is so like gravity. It's so like gravity.
Right. And just keep this in mind. This is wonderful. Sally Joe artwork, right? Women point, right? That's what they do, right? The man can't see what the woman's pointing at, but he's building anyway, right? He's building that foundation to lift her up. That's what's happening. And look, I wish everybody would buy this, mainly because it took like, it was 2 years, it was a year and a half.
At least a year and a half.
This is the simplest freaking thing that could possibly be arted in the history of art. And it took her like 2 years.
You were missing the bridge the whole time.
Well, yeah, you snuck that in at the end.
Well, because that was why it was wrong.
You fixed it without even telling me, which is fine.
I had to,
well, yeah, of course you had to. But I mean, you were supposed to fix it. You're the artist. And I think they hold up the crown.
That's right.
They do, but that's the higher thing. I mean, the crown is always on the top. Like, the crown is always on the top. And the crown is the highest materialist representation of anything. Period. End of statement.
It crowns it. Like, if you want to be like, oh, hey, this is the highest, you put a crown on it. Which is
in the material world.
That's what I demonstrated with my fruit cheese that solve hierarchy. Put the crown on it. The fruit trees that solve hierarchy.
Oh, yes. the accursed fruit trees that solve hierarchy. Ole. Why do you torture me like this?
I
Why?
mean, that's who would do it.
Yeah,
Guy working in the trees. He would just put the crown on the best one.
he probably
Done.
would.
Done.
It's horrible. It's horrible. Yeah, the crown is the materialist, highest material manifestation of the highest thing is a crown. That is true. The ethereal representation in the material of the highest thing is a light. It's a halo.
No.
Well,
it's a certain cloak on a certain person that you don't necessarily mention.
No, maybe. I mean, I think the
And
light.
she's got a crown.
Maybe
because that would be her crown outside of the Kingdom of England.
Right. But it's represented as a halo. Yeah. Right. That's the non-material.
But not always. Sometimes.
But that is the non-material representation, as opposed to the material representation. There are higher representations. But that's the
dragons aren't necessarily bad. It's just you have to have a person willing to fight with them.
Yeah, dragons aren't bad. They collect and store and protect gold.
And value.
And value as such, right? Yeah. And they explain things to you, right? But you can't have only good or only bad. And this is all about having only one side.
Here's the thing. If you tame a dragon, it ceases to be a dragon.
A dragon.
Right. Whereas if you tame a unicorn, it doesn't cease to be a unicorn. But if you slay a dragon, it remains a dragon. If you slay a unicorn, it doesn't exist anymore.
Right.
There's no blessing from it.
But you get a curse instead.
Right. And I would say if you tame a dragon and then make a dragon your problem, that's a pretty good curse too. So it's a difference of approach to problems.
Right.
And both should be respected.
Exactly. We're trying to reduce the world all the time. RJ, well, if they're guarding something for you, no, they're not guarding something for you.
I mean,
dragons don't work for you ever.
This is like inappropriate house pets.
Right.
It's not that cougars are bad. Right. It's that cougars shouldn't be house kitties.
Right.
You know?
Well, that's the problem. We want to own things. We want to like having mode versus being mode. We're individuals trying to have things. No, you're not an individual, and there's a bunch of stuff you can never have.
Right.
Like you can never have a country. You can rule a country
lead
poorly or well. You can lead a group, but you can't have a group, right? That's a tyranny. It doesn't last long, right? And that's part of the problem.
That's there's a terrible group of books, but one of the phrases that I really latched onto in it was you can own a woman or you can own a knife, but you can't own a woman and a knife.
Yeah.
You just can't.
Right. RJ, I like the idea. If you kill a unicorn and drink its blood, you become a vampire.
Yeah.
Well, whatever. Bad things happen. If you can kill a unicorn, which you need the help of a maiden to do, at least in mythological terms, it's not good. Like none of this is going. The outcomes will not be positive for you or anyone else ever. The other thing that people are missing is that if you actually read the mythology closely, it's not about you and it's not about the person doing the thing. Curses happen either cross generation or to entire villages. Right. These are magical creatures. That means they do not apply to one single person. That doesn't happen. They also affect one single person. They may affect one single person more because they're more guilty, for example.
Well, and they often affect the land itself.
Right.
And they'll be cursed long after the whole village is gone.
Yep.
And 100 years from then, people still can't rest there.
Right. Yeah, it's no rest. Even if you kill a dragon, it's no rest. Right. And like you see this trope in The Hobbit. Right. So you got Smaug. They just kind of leave him alone. But while they're leaving the dragon alone, he owns all the treasure. And so their city falls into disrepair and ruin. Right. Like that happens in the book. Like it's pretty clear. Lake Town. Right. Did I get it right this time? I got it wrong last time. It's Lake Town. So Lake Town falls into disrepair. The only way, though, to do anything is to get the dragon to stop being lazy and hoarding gold, because he's perfectly happy to do that forever, obviously, and get him out and attacking so that he's vulnerable, because he's not vulnerable when he's sitting in, when he's laying down in the gold. That piece of scale that's weak is not, it's not available to be used. It's sitting against the gold.
Right.
Like, people miss all this symbolism in Tolkien, and like, fair enough, this is hard stuff, right? But it's all there.
Well, and in that book, the dragon has encrusted himself. All of
Right.
his soft
Right.
points have become encrusted with the gold that he's been hoarding.
Right.
So he
Right.
uses that as an addition to
As an
his
addition
power.
to his power. Right.
Yeah.
And what do? They try to kill him, at least in the movie, with the gold, right? They try to smother him in hot gold and make an idol, a golden idol out of the dragon. Didn't see that, did you? Right. And then it doesn't work. It fails. It just enrages him. And now he's pissed off. And then he goes out, right? And it's only the righteousness of the one good man from the lineage of the last good man who almost killed the dragon, right? That can slay the dragon with basically the last thing that was abandoned, but still working in the city, revivified this whole time, right? He doesn't leave the city. He's the guy making sure the city survives by going out and trading and bringing barrels, right? And all that, and keeping that relationship up with the elves, keeping that relationship up. He's the guy who's righteous enough to come in and basically slay the dragon.
Well,
The city wouldn't be there otherwise.
Tolkien was so good at that, and those things he would just go on over and over, because that whole thing that guy did was very similar to Aragon,
Right.
just in a little bit of a different frame. So with the man from Lake Town who slayed the dragon, he never left Lake Town. He stayed there. He stayed part of it, dealing with the sins of his fathers, dealing with the sins of the past. Now, Aragon and Aragon's whole little family, they're still dealing with the sins of their fathers, but they've developed this anxiety about returning to Gondor because that's just too much. So it's very similar to the man from Lake Town and Aragon, but a little different. A little, because in Gondor they leave it to the guard, or I don't remember, the stewards. They leave it all to the stewards, whereas in Lake Town, he's right there, day-to-day dealing. And so you're dealing with those different relationships. And it's often a sins of the fathers problem, because you also have the Rohirrim, the horse lords, and the son gets banished, and the daughter is dealing with the sins of the father. Right. And so you have this continual, and like, there's no individualism in Tolkien. It's just not. It's not about an individual, right down to Frodo, all the way down, all the way up. No individualism. Yep. You don't get it.
Right. It never happens. Right. That's why the hero's journey is garbage. All right, Jay, the last good man is a fun way to read righteous among his generation. Maybe. To do the syncretism thing. Goodness is independent of manhood. Yes. It's something that can flow through the man if he embodies the right thing. And the right thing might be never have been at the top of the hierarchy, right? But maintaining what they're supposed to maintain, maybe hidden, right? Because in Lake Town, weapons are illegal, right? They don't want to piss off the dragon. They don't want to make him angry, right?
So I have read Aragon. I've read all of it, and I know about Brome. There are things I like about it. I love the visuals. I love the whole story of the author. It was a very young man that wrote it, and he did a wonderful job for a very young man. But there's some maturity in it that's lacking, and there are some really, not really trite, but like overdone tropes of the current age that they suffer a little bit from what Divergent suffers from, and what Harry Potter suffers from, and the Hunger Games suffer from, which is the world is too closed.
Right.
And that's a lot to put on them, because the majesty of a world that is less closed is nearly unattainable. And that's why a lot of Tolkien's works were never finished, and there's a lot of partial works, because you can't just do that. So I wouldn't say that Aragon's like a bad book series, but it might be a waste of time.
Yeah. Yeah, that's ultimately, that's the problem, is that a lot of this stuff, when people what we're suffering from is a bunch of people mimicking Tolkien poorly because they suck. I'm sorry, but like they suck. Like Tolkien put in a lot of hours, did a lot of things, and he was a special person. But he wasn't your average guy. You know, and it's Joseph Campbell and the hero's journey. Well, Tolkien did it, so you
Well,
can do it, but
and-
you can't. You're not him, and you suck. You're
and
terrible.
like any form of entertainment, it probably depends a lot on what you use it for. My dad and my brother and me were all into the Aragon books because the kid who wrote the Aragon books was a homeschooler from Montana who literally saved the ranch with them. And we were just excited about that story. So the first time I read them was kind of legitimate. Second and third time, when I was just hiding from my life, became very illegitimate very fast. So
Right.
it does take some, just think about why you're doing what you're doing. And if the answer is because you're suffering, maybe try to fix the suffering and not just dip out into a fraction of another person's mind that is not them.
Right, right. And you know, we just have this paucity of stories, right? We have no myths or no good myths, no well-told myths. And a mixture, you know, a mixture of the idea of myth and story and this whole new thing called narrative, which is, you know, nobody knows what that is. Again, see my story narrative archetype video to straighten that out for you on navigating patterns. And we're really not engaging with good old-fashioned information about what the old myths were and
Well,
how they function.
and there isn't a bar of excellence. I would say if you really want to read literature and you're really hunting, go for stuff in the Great Conversations collection. Like there is the Great Conversation. It does exist. It's a group of books. You can look it up on the internet. They're hard. They're a pain in the ass to read. They're slow. They will enrich you. You maybe don't need to be enriched in that way, but if you're just going to do it anyway, I would say go for that.
Yeah, and I think that's the
And time has tested them already for you. You don't have to
right.
test everything yourself. In
Right.
fact, probably
Right.
not the best idea. Let time do it. That's what it's for.
Yeah, RJ, I tried to read Murtaugh of Nostalgia, but just I don't think people should be reading books by themselves. Period. Ever. Don't read a book by yourself. Just don't do it. Don't do it. You're gonna destroy yourself. You're not smart enough to understand those people. Have either read Vonnegut? I mean, I've read some
I have not.
Vonnegut, like whatever. I mean, he's decent, but he's not great. Like, he's not a great author, right? And Vonnegut, I at some point I got to figure out how to do some of these things. I will figure out how to talk about the fact that what makes a story great is never one thing, and we are confused. So we will take a Vonnegut who has very good ideas and very good ways of describing and framing those ideas, right? And we will say, oh, well, he's a good storyteller. No, he's not. No, he's not. He has a good idea, right? J.K. Rowling has good ideas, but her writing's terrible, actually. It's YA. Like, young adult writing is bad writing by definition. Right? You are writing to a low reading comprehension level. That's what YA is, right? It's not like, oh, we're writing, you know, Shakespearean iambic pentameter that appeals to children by talking about the things they're going through. First of all, none of what I just said would make any sense, right? Like, children go through the same things as adults because we all live in the same creation and we all go through the same processes of growth. And that growth continues forever, as near as I can tell. And so that doesn't make any sense to cater to a particular time span in your life, right? What you want to be is symbolic enough that when you read something and then you read it again, you get more out of it because you've changed, right? That's what you want. Then you don't need YA, right? Tolkien manages to do this, by the way. So, like, I can point at an author and tell you, there it is. You read Tolkien, right? Plato is famous for doing this, right? It's like a well, and every time I go, I get more out of it. Sure, whatever. It's a good writing. It's good writing, right? Now, there's writing that can grip you. That's terrible. It's terrible story. It's terrible idea. It's you know, but it's gripping, right? There's lots of authors like
Well,
that.
like Gulliver, Around the World in 180
Yep.
Days,
Yep.
Moby Dick. I haven't even finished Moby Dick, and
Nope.
I
Well,
return in my mind to it.
right.
And the books, and like Ayn Rand, like there are
Yeah.
books that
Yeah.
you can return in your mind to over and over. I
Right.
don't do that with Aragon. I don't. I'm like, kind of wanted to. I was really enthused about him, like, but it's just, it's not the same depth. And like, there are little things with Tolkien that are so substantial. Just like when he talks about, oh, the elves lived here once and the land remembers them.
Right.
And that's like the kind of person you should aspire to be. Like, that's such simple phrasing, and it's such a simple, and it's like, it's a side note. It's not the main contingent of the story at all.
Right.
But to be so gracious to what God has given you, that you would be remembered by the land. And there are people who are. There are places you go in this world where they have still blessed the land for you. And like, that's the difference. That's the difference. Like, there's the whole little world Aragon set up, but that depth is not there. Also, the whole words give you the magic power over the thing
Right.
is not, it's not how it works.
Right.
It's a
Right.
wrong modality, and that is just propositionalism. And it's like, the philosophy itself is fraught with modern nonsense that is just a trope of our age, and it's not his fault. He was young. And
Yeah.
yeah, he was trying to do a thing bigger than himself with the tools at hand.
RJ, I am but a Lilliputian looking to find out who this Jay Galt guy is. Who is John Galt? Look, I mean,
Lilliputians.
this is part of the problem when you try to mix those metaphors, when you try to mix the stories together, it doesn't end up working. And the reason why it doesn't end up working ultimately is because symbolism has to maintain a level of consistency. And this mix and match, do it all yourself, put it together the way you want. Like, I really like a little bit of this and I really like a little bit of that.
Well,
it fails.
That's the problem with the modern unicorn.
Right.
A lot of the rainbow pop punk unicorns are not unicorns anymore. They are
Right.
the chimera.
Right.
They
become
have
chimera.
become the chimera.
Yeah, become chimera.
And that is not what they were.
Right. RJ, oh yeah, what's a better magic system? All right. I've been talking about this for a while with various people. There are no magic systems that are words only. None. There is one magic system that I know of that is thought only. And it's done for contrast for very good reasons, right? J.K. Rowling's not words only magic. There's no such thing as words only magic. I don't know why, right? The way words work generally is confirmation bias. The other way words work is no other way, actually, right? No, everybody misses this. I get that. That's how words work. Confirmation bias. They work entirely on confirmation bias. They don't work any other way at all. People are very confused about this. Like, they just confirm what you want to hear. You hear what you want to hear. You don't hear what people are saying ever. No one ever hears what I'm saying. That's for sure. Poor Sally, same thing. All right. That's why she didn't get adopted, we'll say, as the artist by other groups when she offered that up, right? With full art. And I'm like, oh, you want to do art? Well, have I got projects that need art?
They were like, no unicorns here. And I was
Right.
like,
They didn't see
well,
the unicorn. And I was like,
okay.
a unicorn has graced us with her presence. Let's unicorn that one up, right? I mean, that's how we have this virtue card stuff, right? That's how we have the Odyssey of Og coming soon. That's how we have the cover for the book Navigating Wisdom Communities, which is coming shortly. I should have those copies in my hand in a little more than a week.
Our editor, I've wanted someone that I had this dream of being able to dump files into a folder and give it to someone who's better at computers than me and then just leave. It's
finally happened. We found the group. We found the right people.
My whole life.
But we found the right people, right? It takes a village, right? I couldn't write the book without the additional motivation from the editor, right? And editor made it better, and other people contributed and made it better, right? And we're so on the hero's journey that we're not cooperating. And we're so enamored with opponent processing, which is false and bad and evil, by the way. So don't do that, please, because I'm a no on evil and your evil affects me. And so I'm still like, can you please just not put your time, energy, attention to good instead? Right. So we don't have that. And the reason why we don't have that is because all we're doing is heroes journeying to kill dragons, whether you're a man or a woman, and no one's considering the unicorns, and no one's making space for the unicorns, and no one's embracing the unicorns, and no one sees the value of the mother and the child anymore because we ain't got no unicorns, man. And I know we gotta wrap this up, Sally, right? Because
we're about that time. All the unicorns become pumpkins in about 5 minutes.
Yes. So we do have to wrap it up. If you guys got anything, put it in the live chat now, and hopefully we can answer it within 5 minutes or 4 minutes, whatever time frame we have here. But I appreciate everybody watching, and I hope that like you can understand the importance of redirecting the symbolism towards the right symbols and revivifying the right things. And look, maybe the right symbol's not the dragon for the West, maybe it's the lion. I don't know. Right. But I'd love to have that discussion. If you guys know Jonathan Peugeot, tell him, hey, Mark wants to talk to you about a bunch of stuff. Right. I'm already in the queue somewhere, kind of.
I hope trying to point out the way the icon can reveal to you everyday blessings that are miraculous can encourage you to not gas your miracles.
Right.
Because yeah, it's a good idea.
The biggest problem with not having the unicorn is that the dragon is not miraculous in the same way as the unicorn. And so we've lost a whole sense for the miraculous. And you need that contrast. You need contrast to see. You need the contrast of the dragon and the unicorn.
And just because one is masculine and one is feminine does not, like, women should appreciate the conquest of the dragon. But I think in order for them to be able to do that and not feel like it is put upon them to be participating would be if women can appreciate taming a unicorn and men can appreciate them doing it, because that's mutually growing. And so it's like you have to start doing it for people to start helping you do it. Like it keeps going up. And when somebody takes that out of resentment, they both die and dwindle. And so it's for the health of both impulses that you should appreciate richly the differences.
Right. And again, it's not just the unicorn that's broken. Our relationship with the dragon is broken. Peterson's not talking about this in the best way. It's better than nothing, though. So huge upgrade, right?
And neither of them are people. Both of them are aspirations far beyond yourself that you participate with, like constellations in the sky.
Right. With others. You're not getting the unicorn by yourself as a woman, and you're not slaying the dragon by yourself as a man. That ain't gonna happen. That ain't gonna happen. Right? Maybe Hercules can do that, but he's divine birth.
You're not benefiting from the blessings or the treasure either by yourself.
Right.
Because both can be a curse to you alone.
Exactly. RJ, let's be grateful for our unicorns and the small miracles. Peace out, RJ. Ixnon, you interact with dragons via power and unicorns via wisdom. Well said, sir. Like sometimes these people that watch my channel know this better than I do, and it really pisses me off. Listen, guys, thanks a lot for joining. If you got more questions, put them in the comments below, and either Sally or I or both of us will try to answer them. And if you like this stuff, look, buy some Virtue Card merch. They're beautiful, or buy a Space Dragon cup or whatever. Space Dragon mug. What are they there?
I don't. Sarah manages the website.
Oh yeah, I don't. That's true. That's true. Artists can't spell. Really appreciate seeing you guys. If you want to see more of this, comment. Let us know. I won't be in South Dakota again for a while, probably, because it's 2.5 days to drive out here. And then once you're here, there's nothing to do. It's not 3 hours away. And then it's only, you can't do much unless you're like herding cows or go into a branding or
You
something.
could learn about the
There's-
cows, Mark.
I'm learning about the cows. I am. It's just taking a while. But I appreciate the engagement, everybody. Tell your friends. Tell Jonathan Show you need to talk to me about 17,000 things. And have a great day. And go out and value those unicorns and have a better engagement with dragons.